September 25th, 2024. This meeting is being broadcast live by Westford Cable Access TV and is being recorded for playback online. By attending this meeting, you consent to your likeness and audio being used for this purpose and captured for rebroadcasting. So our 7 p.m. agenda item is open forum. Do any members of the commission have something for open forum? Matt?
Just that the request for certificate of compliance at 30 Magnolia will be tabled till another meeting. So if anybody's here,
Okay.
nothing.
Do any members of the audience have something they'd like to bring up in open forum? Okay. Moving on to our other 7 p.m. agenda item, it's continue a public hearing and issue order of conditions for Polewski, 30 Elm Road. Good evening.
Hello.
Name for the record?
Pardon me?
Name for the record?
Oh, I'm sorry, Gary Polewski, 60 Elm Road. Excuse me.
So since the last meeting, we have received a DEP file number, and we corrected a couple minor things within both the findings of the special condition of the drafted special conditions, and also clarified a couple of the discussed special conditions. The applicant has provided a revised, or not revised, but updated is
The plan.
yeah. Provided a plan for the packet. It's certainly a little bit more legible, less artistic design, and I know the commission's concern was related to the plantings alongside the bank of Nappanasset Lake. Thank you. Being installed concurrently with the hardscaping of the project. Oh, that's what's gone from the phasing of, or the kind of 3 phases from the.
And you captured that in the.
Yeah,
conditions.
and that's also, it was, again, we had it in the special conditions that be monitored, and also be monitored for a minimum of 2 years.
You have no questions?
Nope, all good by me.
Okay.
It's okay by me.
Can I have a motion to issue the order of conditions?
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. You're all set.
You're all set.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Okay,
Car keeps going off.
moving on.
Somebody's car's out there honking.
I don't know.
Apologies. Better not be mine.
No, it's not
No,
yours.
we think it's someone's dog.
Active dog in the car. It's the best height.
It's one, whoops, and all.
Okay, moving on to our 7:05 p.m. agenda item. This is a public hearing
So
for Rain and Dashiell, 26 and 24 Newport Drive. Would you like-
Jim, if you'd be able to read the public hearing. I forgot to print it off.
Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Westford's non-zoning wetland bylaw, Chapter 171, the Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, September 25th, 2024, at 7:05 p.m. in Meeting Room 201 at Town Hall, 55 Main Street, to consider the request for determination of applicability application of Nancy Rain and Nancy Dashiell for the bordering land, for the removal of 7 trees within 100 feet of bordering vegetated wetland and bordering land subject to flooding at 24 and 26 Newport Drive. Assessors map 68, parcel 18 and 19, lot 0.
Good evening.
Hi.
And for the record, you are
I'm Nancy Rain.
Nancy Dashiell.
Shields.
So this started, the property owners reached out regarding the removal of trees on abutting properties by the same company. They've both received letters, or provided letters from the tree master's arborist documenting their concerns about the location, health, and size of the trees. The plan, sorry, scrolled past it before. They're at the rear of the properties behind the dwellings, between the dwellings and the wetlands associated with Shipley Swamp. The houses were constructed in the early mid-60s. And certainly, I imagine over the last 60 years, the pine trees that are now being of concern certainly have continued growing. So on 26 Newport Drive, 4 pine trees are proposed to be removed. On 24 Newport was proposed, that's 26.
Looks like 3.
Yes, the 3, and they're cherry and vines that have been choking it out, a maple, and also 1 pine. We were proposing to use crane to remove them. And as noted in the proposal, no stump grinding was to occur. Did I miss anything?
Mine has stump grinding, but it's an old stump that's right up against my house.
Yeah, I think that was.
Find one old stump.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Any thoughts about plantings?
we've discussed it. I don't think, or in discussing, kind of let them know, typically 1-to-1. Included in the commission's packet was a resource from Eversource which I thought was interesting, and I don't know if I had forwarded it to you, but it's
Poster?
a brochure that I can scroll to it because I don't want to get too ahead of the schedule.
With the replanting, we're not asking for the same kind of trees, it's just a replacement tree. You can choose something that won't grow as tall at maturity or a different type of tree, but it just, we like to replace trees that have been taken out when they're in the buffer zone.
And Matt can help you with that.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I'll, again, send this along, but it's their native landscaping with native plants brochure, 30 utility compatible New England native plants, which I thought between showing the sun exposure, kind of its mature size, and whether it's a tree or a shrub, and also having its common and botanical names also with some characteristics. I thought this was a great resource that I'm very much going to be sharing with people looking to remove trees within the buffer, as sometimes it can be overwhelming to look at a nursery's available native plant lists and kind of discern down what
What
maybe
we're going to
most-
feel comfortable with.
right,
And what
so-
might look good. And
He'll help you with
Yeah, and then also discussed was leaving a couple standing snags, less than,
is that going to be okay?
3 or
Them?
4. Leaving kind of the 10 to 15 foot standing stumps for a couple of them.
What that does is it provides habitat, so that's something that, the woodpeckers or wildlife will use that tree rather than looking at one of your other trees, in terms of if there are insects or whatever.
I know we do have a lot of wildlife back there, and we have a lot more trees that are back there.
Well, Matt, did you look in that, looking at that particular area, with these trees out, is there understory that would grow, or is there?
There's certainly
creating it open?
there certainly is a vegetated buffer there.
that be
there-
enough?
I mean, I leave a couple of, I think having a couple standing stumps would, and, whether it's 2 or 3 of the, kind of one on
one or two on
And that
each.
somehow that needs to be conveyed.
Right, I can
and,
put- I
yeah,
can put
the
that- I can put
estimate updated or whatever,
Right,
you know.
and to whoever's
Well,
doing
I
the
think,
work.
and I think that's, I mean, tree masters, they've done work in
They
town.
know how to do that.
Oh, yeah, they've done plenty,
They're
yeah.
familiar with it, so, you
Yeah.
know, certainly, you know.
See their sign
can put
up.
it.
If you write something so they can
Yeah,
pass
I
it
mean,
on.
put it in the, I typically put it as a condition of the
Okay,
negative determination to say, you know.
which is a good thing, negative.
No?
It wasn't clear to me how close is this to the wetlands?
It's probably, I
30
mean,
feet?
they're on the bank going from the, you know, the developed bank down to the wetlands. It's probably 20 feet, you know, but it was certainly developed at a
Trees are closer to our houses than it is to the water.
Yeah. No, but it just, we like to understand how close to the wetlands they are.
They're all on the bank.
Yeah,
And there's more between these trees and the water. There are more trees that are still up and
Yeah.
not being touched.
okay.
And also, they said with the removal of these trees, the vegetation that we have is going to prosper more because of,
The removal.
Or sunlight getting in.
yeah.
Well, and one of the things to look at with the list of 30 plants that Matt was speaking about is, for example, some of those will be flowering shrubs and things like that. So if you want something that's going to be an attractive addition to your backyard, you know, that may be something to look at putting in.
Although, we would like to see, you know, I would hate to see trees get replaced for shrub.
Right,
A lot of times we say what
flowering
people
tree.
can, you know, if you're going to remove something, and we allow shrubs in areas, but we do also like to see where we can one-to-one for a tree.
right. But some of it is also looking at
Constraints, right.
understory versus the overstory, and also stuff that provides wildlife habitat, you know, something like a service berry, which would provide berries and such for the birds in the winter. You know,
Yep.
Again, they can probably get it.
yeah.
We have bears too.
Indeed.
Oh, you have bears.
And I'm just chuckling at your wildlife berries because that's going to attract the bears. That's all.
So maybe not fruiting shrub.
Maybe not.
Flowering.
Flowering.
We have flowering.
Yeah, flowering and no berries.
Yep.
Yeah.
And what
Okay.
they also said, it's not a matter of if the trees are going to fall on our houses, it's a matter of when are they. The root structure is really very compromised.
Yeah.
I'm not having an issue with what's being requested, just wanting to know that something's going to go back in its place.
Okay.
Maybe not directly in that, but, you know.
In the area,
Make up for it.
just so that so that those start growing before.
In the
something-
ratio of what's
Need to
being
come out.
removed, like you say, 1-to-1.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Matt, did you have anything else?
No, I'm not.
Any comments or questions from members of the audience? So, conditional negative,
A conditional negative determination.
which is a good thing. It just means
No further.
no further filing is required. This will be with us, yes.
We're satisfied.
We're satisfied. So can I have a motion for conditional negative determination?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. So Matt will be in touch with the paperwork that you need to move forward for your project.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, moving on to our 7:10 PM agenda item. It's a public hearing for Seal Harbor LLC, 415 Groton Road.
Under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Westford's non-zoning wetlands bylaw, Chapter 171, the Westford Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, September 25th, 2024, at 7:10 PM in Meeting Room 201 at Town Hall, 55 Main Street, to consider the notice of intent application of Mark Gallagher of Seal Harbor LLC for the demolition of an existing dwelling, driveway reconfiguration, installation of utilities in rain garden, grading associated with the construction of a new dwelling and associated septic system, and a 4,913 square foot restoration area within 100 feet of bordering vegetated wetlands and 200 feet of Blue Brook at 415 Groton Road, Assessors Map 76, Parcel 46, Lot 0.
Good evening.
Good evening. Matthew Stengel from Land Tech Consultants, here with Mark Gallagher from the applicant Seal Harbor. This notice of intent application is to permit construction within riverfront area wetland buffers at 415 Groton Road. The property, it's a 4.5 acre lot. It's currently mostly wooded area with a small portion of developed area, developed and maintained area surrounding the existing dwelling, which is along the frontage with Groton Road. Resource areas on the site include bordering vegetated wetlands and riverfront area associated with Blue Brook, which is on the property to the east at 427 Groton Road. There is no priority habitat, no Zone 2 wellhead protection areas, and no floodplain on the property. Our plan proposes the construction of a 5-bedroom dwelling, paved driveway, utility installation, construction of stormwater management system, septic system. The majority of the proposed development is outside of the riverfront and wetland buffers. The work within the riverfront area, wetland buffers, limited to a portion of the new paved driveway, or, well, the demolition of the existing house, removal of a portion of the driveway, and then construction of just about 200 feet of the paved driveway, grading on either side of that driveway, the installation of a rain garden, which is part of the overall stormwater management system for the lot, and then also the almost 5,000 square foot restoration area. We have also filed a stormwater management permit application with Planning Board. I think that only got into them either today or yesterday, so that hasn't been reviewed by engineering, but our calculations show that we're not discharging, there's no increase in discharge to the wetlands. For erosion, we're proposing to control erosion, we're proposing silt fence, straw wattles along the entire limit of work that is along the 200-foot riverfront buffer and then within the buffer areas at the entrance. Also proposing to install posts along that limit of clearing with do not disturb signs that say that it's a wetland resource area. Just a little bit of an overview. If any of you have any questions.
No?
Can you point out the 200-foot buffer?
The 200-foot buffer is here. And then here it kind of goes south.
I see.
And it kind of follows the proposed tree line.
So it's the front, well, it's the front.
Yeah, so just this front area is within the riverfront, and a portion of it around here is where the 100-foot wetland buffer is.
All right, thank you.
I did have a question. Reading the project description, it had mentioned a 7-bedroom house.
Oh, sorry, it is 7 bedrooms.
Okay, because the plan itself
It
also
says
says
5.
5 bedrooms.
It is actually a 5-bedroom house.
Okay.
Because of the way the Board of Health measures homes, this is a substantial home.
Okay.
So you take the number of the number of rooms, divide by 2 and add 1. So they have 15 rooms, so they have to have 7 bedrooms, even though it's a 5-bedroom house.
Okay, and that's,
So it's a 7-bedroom septic system.
it's a septic?
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
I was out the end of last week with the applicant's representative and reviewed both the edge of the bordering vegetated wetlands along with the riverfront and found it to be accurate.
Jim?
Something that might be a little bit easier on the eyes and the project. The conservation posts are listed as every 25 feet or 50, something like that.
I think 20.
That's an awful lot of posts, and they're pretty much all in a straight line. It would be okay with me. I don't know about the rest of the commission if they went to at least 50 feet between them. Just to have fewer posts out there. It serves its purpose of marking.
Okay, yeah, I think in other projects we've put them 25 feet, so that was just in my head when I drafted the
Yep.
plan.
Yeah, that's
so-
okay.
Yeah, and we've had,
And sometimes it's needed if there's like a
Yeah.
lot of curving and
Yeah.
Yeah.
different change of direction. But this is almost a straight line the whole path. So
Yeah.
we can reduce the number of posts.
Yeah.
It'd be easier that way for you, too.
I mean, if there's no other plan changes, that could be a special condition, you know, call it out as the special, between
idea.
25 and 50 feet, and then, you know, they don't have to go through a plan revision, just to.
In case anybody referred to it.
So Matt, any amount of fill coming in here or being
I don't
removed?
think so.
You know, I'm looking at the
It's, again,
contours here.
Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of a slope right at the edge of the 200-foot, but it's also where the septic system is, the septic system serving the existing dwelling is proposed to be removed. You're removing the existing septic?
Yes.
Yeah, you can't just abandon it, because I think, and so I don't think there really is, especially within the buffer, I don't think within the commission's jurisdiction, I don't think there's any, I think it's fairly.
A sequencing plan to put in these rain gardens? Like, is it the roadway going to go in first, the rain garden's going to go in?
Their construction sequence has it as kind of after install the rain gardens, drainage channels, and any,
They're in 6.
yeah, construct, you know, so prior to foundation, installing the rain gardens. Again, not that I've had a chance to look at the stormwater management permit, but also sometimes these rain gardens serve as functional temporary detention basins.
Detention basins, exactly.
You know, to make sure that nothing, to start to channel any runoff or over.
I mean, so right now, this is wooded, it's going to be opened up, and you know, when that happens, you know, even though there's not a tremendous slope going down to Route 40, you know, the best of intentions, you know, we've seen what can happen.
And we could add some, straw wattle, like check dams along the
Yeah.
swale.
Bad
We
idea.
could add some more, like erosion control.
It's not a bad idea.
Yeah, especially when it, you know, would be draining out to 40.
Yeah, I mean, it's fairly flat.
You know, it looks fairly flat, you know, I'm not seeing the
The grading.
tremendous grade, but still.
I think that slope from where the house is
Yep.
to the high point of the driveway
gonna go
is
to this.
only about, I think it's like maybe 4% slope, so it's not like it's not a very steep driveway in that section.
It's just a long one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's about 400 feet.
Yeah.
A little over 400 feet long.
But the kind of the crest, at least at the front, is just beyond the, so 204.
Yeah, I think there's about 250 feet.
Yeah, 204 there
High
and
point.
204 is there. So this is the crest of, you know, it's not all.
Yeah, the whole thing doesn't slope down. Actually, it looks like they're digging out to put the house in, if I look at the contour grades correctly.
That's correct.
Yeah, for the walk.
Yeah.
No,
Are there any trees going to be coming down in the 200?
Matt, if you could zoom in on this section here, there's now the tree line is, the existing tree line is here. We have a small area of clearing here and on this side, so basically on both sides of the driveway, but it's about, it says 1,200 square feet. Having walked through the site here, I feel like a lot of the area, like around the septic system, is very small evergreen trees. I think a lot of this area was cleared when they built the septic system, so it's more understory growth through here than
Yeah.
large mature trees.
Like maybe an inch or two, like in diameter?
Yeah, I think that's, I mean, generally speaking, yes.
so small, struggling because they're crowded.
Yeah, yeah.
They're less than 10-year-old trees,
Yeah.
so they're very small.
Anything else? Any comments or questions from members of the audience? You just submitted to the planning board, so there's going to be a review process there. So we should continue to,
I mean, we can continue to the 9th and see what, because the planning board next meets on the 7th.
okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect them to have their review
I mean-
done by then, so probably like the next meeting might be more appropriate, but if you want to have us on the next agenda, we can continue if we haven't heard anything.
Yep.
Okay.
Works for me.
So continue to the October 9th meeting.
Okay.
Can I have a motion to continue the public hearing to October 9th?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You too. So moving on to our 7:15 PM agenda item, it's a continued public hearing for Holland, 90 Main Street.
Hi, good evening. My name's Maureen Harold from North Environmental Services. Here with me tonight is the homeowner, Natalie Holland, the applicant for the project. So I presented this project to the commission, I want to say maybe the end of July. The project involves constructing a single-family addition, garage, mudroom. The original proposal shows it on the right side of the house, so just beyond that basketball hoop that you see there. At the first hearing, the commission expressed concern regarding how close the addition was to the resource area. Unfortunately, Natalie wasn't present at the first meeting. I went back, I spoke to Natalie, I said the commission was concerned about the close proximity, and she asked me to come to the commission tonight to possibly reconsider your first review of the project. With that, I provided an alternative analysis to the commission. One of the alternatives is to relocate the mudroom to the rear of the addition, if we still place it on the right-hand side of the house. If the mudroom gets relocated to the rear of the garage, we are able to meet that 30-foot no disturb setback. The garage would be 30.5 feet off of the wetland. The driveway we would request to extend the driveway fairly minimal square footage, approximately 232 square feet of impervious area. Alternatively, at the first meeting, the commission suggested possibly meeting the 55-foot no build and relocating the garage to the rear of the dwelling, which is shown on the plan. That could meet the 55-foot no build setback, but it would be a substantially more impervious area within the buffer zone. It is a two-car garage. We would have to do some sort of bump out because the driveway itself is fairly long. To back out of the garage all the way up to Main Street, which is a fairly busy drag, and that portion of Main Street is you're coming down a hill. So it's not an ideal situation to do that. So I had proposed a bump out so the car could go straight out of the driveway towards Main Street, and I approximated an impervious area of over 1,500 square feet within the buffer zone. The third alternative was to relocate the addition to the front of the home where it says septic system, approximate location. In the package, we do have an as-built plan that does show the septic system. That would be required to be relocated, and from what I hear, it costs between $40,000 to $60,000 between design, installation, approval, which is a substantial cost to my client if we were to put the garage in front of the house. The house was built in 1979, so it obviously predates the Westford's wetland rules and regulations. That was adopted in '89. The preferred alternative is to put it on the right-hand side of the house, which is in an area of lawn. No trees will be required to be cut. It's less square footage and less impact to the overall buffer zone itself. We can get it 30.5 feet off of the dimensional setback. There's a retaining wall there. That retaining wall would be protected. It would have a 10-foot buffer from it, so we could protect the integrity of that wall. It would be in an area of lawn. And I wanted to present this to the commission tonight to get your feedback. Obviously, the plans are marked up. that was to just get another look at this to see if you were open to this possible design. Obviously, we would need a waiver from the 55-foot no-build. And just wanted to get your feedback before we go into redesign with architectural plans and engineering plans.
So with this current plan, you know, I'm looking at the one here, and yours is as close as 20. Looking at this one, you're able to do it and give us a 30.5-foot setback from the edge of the garage.
Which one are
Yes,
you
sir.
talking about, alternative one?
Yes.
Yes,
This
sir.
one right here, yeah.
Well, that's what I mean, it doesn't say, alternative one, right?
It's down the bottom.
Yeah, close to.
I couldn't hear you.
So
It's down the
alternative-
bottom, yeah.
Yeah, it
alternative.
says- okay, I can see it now.
Okay, first alternative, got it.
So that would meet our requirement.
Yeah, I'm okay with alternative one, not the original NOI plan.
No, and I would be okay with this one as
Yeah,
well.
I would too.
Just for clarification, the driveway exits onto Sunny Meadow Lane, right? Not, the driveway actually goes on to Main Street?
Our main driveway exits onto Main Street. There
Okay.
is a pebble path to Sunny Meadow that
Okay.
the prior owners had put in when they were doing some of the development on Sunny
Okay.
Meadow.
So, okay, so that's what we see there, but that's not your functional driveway?
Correct.
Okay.
The original and the two alternatives both show a driveway that goes straight onto Main, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
It would just be a driveway extension with the first alternative. We would keep our existing driveway and just extend it to the garage.
And what's there currently? Is it lawn?
Yes, so there's a picture, Matt can pull up
Oh,
the
yeah,
picture.
that's right, the one with the basketball court,
Yes.
basketball hoop.
That's the retaining wall. Sorry, wrong way. Family.
Big family.
There.
So basically, behind the boulder is where it would be.
Right, so we would attach it to the house that's there right now. We would only have to extend the driveway 232 square feet, give or take. We could put the mudroom behind the garage, so that would fortunately work out for the homeowners to incorporate the mudroom and meet the minimum 30-foot.
Yeah.
Okay, and now, because I had followed up with some questions that said, during construction for the 30-foot, that you would actually, while the finished construction would be 30.5 feet, during construction, you'd have the erosion control somewhat off.
And they needed the ability to get around it.
Yeah,
That was the thought, so they could put the footings in for the garage, and that would give the contractors enough room to frame the garage, but we would hold that 30.5 feet.
But then after the fact, we would need to.
It would come back to
have
30.
Whatever happened, that buffer area minimized.
yeah.
I think that's where you're getting, yeah.
Yeah, and, but just also so that if they're driving heavy equipment in between the retaining wall and where the erosion, where the side of the garage is, with the heavy equipment, that 10 feet is going to give them enough room that they're not going to get close up to the retaining wall to impact its stability.
Right.
So actually, when we talked to our contractor, they're planning on driving around the other side of the house towards the back.
Okay.
They're not planning on driving equipment through. That
No,
was
but-
already kind of discussed with them because
Okay.
because of how tight it was. And I don't even think additional 10 feet would give them enough comfort to drive the heavy equipment there.
Okay, yeah, because I'm thinking.
They're going to have to tear up our lawn a little bit, so they wanted to talk to us about it, so they're going
Okay.
to go around.
And I was thinking more in terms of when they've got the equipment digging out to put the slab under the foundation of the garage, you know, that they're going to have something big there digging.
But at least they've considered,
Yeah,
you know,
but you've thought ahead on that.
minimizing impacts.
Yep. Okay.
They'd have to drive around the septic, right?
Ooh, that's a
Septic's
good
right in
point.
front.
So, yes, but I think there might be enough room for squeeze by, to not drive right over the tank.
The buffer.
Or you
Or the
could,
fields.
you could put flags on the corner so
Right.
they would know what to avoid. Okay, that could, yeah, you wouldn't want to do that.
I don't have trouble with this.
Okay. Any other questions from members of the commission? Matt?
No, I can certainly, would, depending upon how quickly we can get revised plans from the surveyor, with the commission's permission, I can draft special conditions for the review. Again,
And this is based on, you know, the alternatives analysis, typically this is something we wouldn't want to see in anything new, but trying to accommodate and provide relief, I think this is probably the best we're going to be able to get to, that meets our spirit and, allows the homeowner to move forward.
And it lets you do the patio extension that was planned as well?
Yes.
There's also the shed. There's a shed inside 30 feet.
The shed was, Bill Turner approved the installation.
Okay.
Yeah, that was,
That was their
Fine.
priority.
I found a little footnote on a building permit.
Good enough. All right, great. So alternative one is the one
Is the preferred.
that we'd prefer, yeah.
Okay, before we go
Looks
too far,
satisfactory.
are there any comments or questions from members of the audience? Oh, okay. I always have to ask that.
Okay, well, thank you for your time and your reconsideration. I appreciate that.
So we'll continue to October 9th, and Matt will hopefully have a draft order of conditions prepared in preparation for receiving an updated plan of record.
Great, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Construction will probably be next year, right?
Yeah, okay.
Good luck with that.
Motion to continue the public hearing to October 9th.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Moving on to our 7:25 PM agenda item, it's a public hearing for Therian, 30 Lowell Road.
Is it table?
Under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Westford's non-zoning wetlands bylaw, Chapter 171, the Westford Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, September 25th, 2024, at 7:25 PM in Meeting Room 201 at Town Hall, 55 Main Street, to consider the request for determination of applicability application of David Therian for the installation of an in-ground pool and fence within 100 feet of bordering vegetated wetlands at 30 Lowell Road, Assessors Map 32, Parcel 15, Lot 0.
Hello, my name is Douglas Dillon. I'm the wetland scientist from Goddard Consulting. I was the one who delineated the line here. So the project Locust House is a historical home with a build date 1850. We have a homeowner here who is looking to install an in-ground pool for his family, which is towing in about 3.5 to 4 feet in the buffer zone. And the reason that we could not get that any farther away from that is because in order to meet the zoning setback from frontage for accessory structures, which is 50 feet, and to situate it properly, it has to kind of tow in to the 100-foot buffer zone. This portion of the backyard, directly behind the larger kind of square portion of the house, is occupied by the leach field of the septic system. So that's obviously a no-go, and then we need to meet certain setbacks from that area as well for a swimming pool. And we filed this under a particular tenet of the Wetland Protection Act, which exempts the installation of accessory residential structures outside of the 50-foot buffer zone of a delineated BVW, and that is, let's see, section
310 CMR.
Yep. 310 CMR 1002 2B 2E. The conversion of lawn to uses accessory to residential structures such as decks, sheds, patios, pools, replacement of a basement, bulkhead, and the installation of a ramp, etc., etc. Provided the activity and material staging is located entirely 50 feet or more from the delineated mean or BVW or mean annual high water mark, which this of course does. All of the project area is historically existing lawn. That's the picture I took from the actual wetlands, which it's sort of very rapid lawn to wetland transition. I mean, it's an 1850 farmhouse, and this whole kind of rear swale area is like a finger of wetlands. All the neighboring lots were actually parceled off from this original farmhouse, way back when. This is like the original for the whole neighborhood. All the other houses are, subdivided off at various points.
Jim?
Is the pool freshwater or saltwater, and is there going to be any backwash?
They are going freshwater, I believe, and no, I do not believe there's going to be backwash. I did receive some email questions ahead of the meeting, and so forgive the informality of this, but I did my best to dig into the history of the shed on site, and so I utilized current versus the 2001 Mass Mapper aerials, and you can see it existing in the 2001. Any older aerials are in black and white, and they don't really do any good in determining if it's there. It has a gray roof. I can pass it around.
What are the dimensions of it?
The shed?
Yeah.
It's very small. I have an internal picture of it as well. It's probably
Huh?
8 by 6 feet or something.
Okay, so it's de minimis.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Should approve it.
I had the homeowner take a picture of the interior of the shed as well. There were some questions about material stored in there.
Well, it just, and some of that is not, is because it's only 10, because it's
Oh, I know.
within the 50 foot, it's, you know, if somebody decides to put pesticides, herbicides, fuel products,
Oh, believe me,
Yeah.
I hear you.
Looks good.
okay. This one is in it.
We're all good here.
One more question, is there gonna be a fence around the pool?
Yeah, so currently existing is a 4-foot split rail fence lined with like a chicken wire,
Okay.
and he's going to replicate that around the pool to sort of blend.
So is it gonna be around the pool, or is it around the yard?
So the entire property is actually surrounded by this fence already.
Okay.
And he's going to sort of spot install that where
Okay.
needed.
I saw the post and rail and the fact that there was then a wire
Yeah.
thing
yep.
on it just was, you know, that was just, a kid can go through a split rail fence.
He has 2 little kids himself. Yeah.
Okay. So the plan already covers that.
We're good?
Okay. So,
Any questions or other questions from the commission?
any other Matt?
No, you got me to the fence.
Okay, any comments or questions from members of the audience? So we're looking at conditional negative? Or just negative?
Yes, I mean, if the fence is proposed, or the only condition would be if the fence is proposed within the 75-foot, closer than 75 feet to show it on the plan.
Oh, no, yeah, no, that's...
Okay, so do you want a conditional or a not?
Condition, again,
Okay.
just as,
Can I have a motion for conditional negative determination?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. So Matt will be in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So now we're moving on to our 7:30 PM agenda item, which is a public hearing for Thompson 18 Dana Drive.
Under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Westford's non-zoning wetlands bylaw, Chapter 171, the Westford Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, September 25th, 2024, at 7:30 PM in Meeting Room 201 at Town Hall, 55 Main Street, to consider the notice of intent application of Tina Thompson for the removal of a hot tub and fire pit, installation of a 32 by 16 foot in-ground pool, patio, fire pit, spa and bar, and landscaping, and enclosure of an existing deck within 100 feet of bordering vegetated wetlands at 18 Dana Drive, Assessors Map 27, Parcel 228, Lot 6.
Good evening, Madam Chair and Commissioners. I'm sorry. My name is Sushman Dafshar from Taj Engineering, and I'm here to represent the owner and applicant, Mr. and Mrs. Thompson, who unfortunately could not be here tonight because they are out of town on business trip.
If you'd like, there's a laser pointer on the table, and if you want, Matt will have the big plan up, if that makes it easier.
Point to whatever you'd like.
Sure.
Just don't look at it.
Someone of
in the button, and it'll
my age can use a laser point. That's interesting. So, on this board, the green is the border of vegetated wetland. This one here, and the A series, that one, which is like I think a channel or an isolated wetland, and these are the buffer zones, the 30-foot buffer zone, one here and one here. And this one is the resultant of the 55-foot buffer zone in between to the large wetland area and the small wetland area. Last but not the least is the 100-foot buffer zone here, which on this board is in green. The BBWs are in green, and the yellows are all the buffers. Now, as you can see, all the existing improvements, the house, the dwelling, all the improvements in the backyard, the landscaping, everything which is all back here, they are all almost, and on this plan shown, almost the entire driveway also, they are all almost already within the buffer zone. So all the existing improvements are already within the buffer zone. Now, the applicant, they don't have too much room for the proposed activities, so the family is proposing a 16 by 32 in-ground pool outside the 55 no-build zone, between the 55-foot buffer and the 100-foot buffer, right in this area. They are also proposing, to be good citizens, I guess, remove the existing hot tub. Remove the hot tub, which is in this area, between the 30-foot buffer and the 55 buffer, and relocate it to the safe side of the 55-foot buffer, between 55-foot and 100-foot buffer, right in this area. And then, of course, in place of the hot tub and its appurtenances, whatever it is, the patio, everything around, it will be converted back, restored to its original conditions of loam and seed, and will become part of the lawn. All this landscaping area in the back, which is a short wall and so on and so forth, is basically, which is right behind the house, and it's existing, it's basically will be refurbished. It will get a facelift, and it will get improved in terms of landscaping, lawn, and so on and so forth. In addition to the pool, again, we are proposing a patio around the pool, which is in the shaded gray area. All these distances are mentioned, and which is a patio is usually pervious because there are joints between the blocks and so on and so forth. And then this is the proposed, if I can read it from my plan, this is the spa. This is the spa and bar, which is again attached close to the house, and again, their existing, that is also currently is an developed area, some landscaping and shrubs, and in the low retaining wall, and they're putting a 6.5 by 5.7 foot spa and bar almost attached to the house. The intent was to minimize the proposed activities within the buffer zones and resource area. So in consultation with the building commissioner, instead of a fence and gate, it was agreed to install a auto cover, which is right in this area. So as soon as, I guess, the pool is not being used, or anytime the pool is being used, the auto cover will turn on and cover the entire surface of the pool, as you know. That was to minimize, really, because if you wanted to put a fence, now we are well within the 30 and 55-foot buffer, and we really wanted the homeowner and the pool contractor, altogether they decided to minimize proposed activities. The construction will be really dig and haul, excavation. Every excavation will be dumped into a dump truck and hauled away right away from the site. There won't be any stockpile at the site. We don't have any room. No equipment will be really stored on site. Only if during the excavation, the initial excavation of the pool, there was some problem. I was told by the pool installer that at the most, maybe one night, an excavator will be parked way down in front, which is out of the 100-foot buffer by the street, right in this area, because we have a big lawn here, which from the on the left side of the house. That is from here, from the street, the approach will be made to all the activities for the construction in this area. There is a silt fence proposed as close as possible, right from here. This is the silt fence, okay, which is a silt fence with mulch tube right from here all the way, encloses the limit of the work, the area of the work. And we brought it in as much as possible closer and away from resource area and buffer zones. There was a couple of questions that just before I left the office this afternoon I received, which I would like to answer, and then I'll be quiet. The location of the fencing, we said in consultation with the building commissioner, we came up with the auto cover to minimize any more activities. The location of the shed back here, we couldn't find anything. This is, if you may call it grandfather. When the current owner, they bought the house, that shed has been there, was there. And we couldn't find any record of it. So it has been there, and it's a 9 by 18 shed, and it's mainly for rakes and, as I understand, tools like that. Maybe the toys for the play area in the back, that has been also there, and that sort of thing. That's the story of the shed. Now, the area under the porch, this area, that is going to be used mainly for the pool equipment, like the recharge, the pump, which is usually on a pad. Anything they put on that, any installation, it will be on the pad. Is it
enclosed?
Which is enclosed, yes.
It will be enclosed.
It will be enclosed.
It will be, yeah, I'm sorry, it says it will be, that's correct.
Yeah, that's what they're doing.
Right in this area. And maybe one of those sweepers that clean the bottom of the pool, things like that, all pool accessories. The pool itself, actually, I forgot to mention, it's on the plan. There will be a pool filter, is a cartridge filter and no backwash system. So there will be a cartridge that every once in a while they change it. I was talking to the pool contractor today. It's going to be salt water, so there are no chemicals, no hazardous waste needed. No hazardous material needed for the pool. No chemicals for the pool. Every year, he was telling me, they put some kind of salt in the water, and every year that gets renewed or recharged. So that was the answer to that question in terms of. So under the deck, there won't be any storage of any chemicals or hazardous material.
But they may need to install a concrete pad for the piece of equipment you first mentioned? Okay.
Correct, because otherwise it will settle, it will be out of level, and so on and so forth. So any equipment you put on the ground, you have to put, yes, it has to be on the pad. It's probably part of manufacturer's specifications. Will ensure under the deck, I guess that's it. I think if there's any question, I'll do my best to answer. That's why we are not proposing a dumpster on site, because first of all, we don't have room, and second of all, it's not necessary because everything's supposed to be removed and hauled away.
So I don't see the location of any septic system components.
Where is it?
In the front of the house somewhere.
Yeah, I would imagine it's this, somewhere in this area.
Okay, because you wouldn't want the equipment driving over it.
No, there is such a vast area there, we can easily bypass it. I thought it was in the front right side.
Really? I don't know. Well, we can find a plan.
Okay, but yeah, it just,
But, I mean, we have, if it is on the right side, there is no problem at all. And if it is on, because we are not going to access the site from
Yeah.
this side at all. We don't want to get into any of the buffer zones here. And if it is on the left side, we have plenty of room, we can easily,
as long as you know where it is, you can go around it.
exactly.
Should
I
be able
mean,
to wrap this up.
Yep.
So
if they damage it, they own it.
my question is, right now we're talking about pavers in the back. It sounded like pavers. We were told it was going to be pervious in the back, but I don't know if that was pervious pavers or they were going to be impervious pavers, but there were going to be spacing in between it that left that area pervious. So I know when, previously we went out to a site and they were going to use fieldstone, but it was going to be pervious because it was going to be area between the fieldstone that allowed water to get through even though the fieldstone was impervious. Here, if it's block that's tight together, it's not going to be that pervious. And we just want to I would want to make sure that that proposed patio was going to be pervious because we already have an impervious pool being added and a pad. So there's impervious area being increased in that area, so I'd want to make sure at least the patio pavers in that system was a pervious system.
I can look back. I know with a similar pool, there was a discussion. You can do some, or maybe include a recharge trench. Something.
To accommodate?
Yeah, something to direct.
I just wanted to make sure that the patio was going to be a pervious patio versus impervious, so we could just
Again, I think
maintain as much pervious surface as possible.
I recall with another patio around a pool, there was concerns about it being all pervious, it being, being the permeability of it,
right.
Impacting, and the freeze thaw impacting the pool. So I would imagine it, I can look back and see.
So they're going to come back and say we needed to be impervious because of a potential freeze thaw impact to the pool?
That may be, I can certainly look to see
Yeah, that would be-
and at least get ahead of it now, and, if we need to add a recharge trench, just make sure
Sure.
that, it's.
You can put it as a condition.
Yeah, because this is an NOI, so we've got to have an order of conditions.
No, yeah, I get it. I just,
Yeah, so we can,
other than that, I'm not
That's a good
seeing
point.
much that is concerning me.
And we have room for a recharge trench. We can easily,
Right,
Yeah.
there's an option.
there is an option. And if you put it as a condition, it definitely can be easily accommodated. We do have room for that all around. Now, there are pavers who make them pervious. In other words, they make.
Yeah, we've seen it before, and we just request it as part of the order of conditions, and it's as easy as that.
Now, you can put, if you like, I'm just suggesting, humble suggestion, you can put both as a condition, either or. If the pool contractor feels that they can do the ones with joint, the one that it's made to create a pervious joint in between, then that's his responsibility. He will do that. Means and method is responsibility of the contractor. And if he says, oh no, I cannot do that, then he will go with option 2.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
fine with either
long as-
approach,
yes.
as long as we're
idea, though.
accommodating that, taking that into account.
okay, so Matt knows what language to
Yep,
put
I
into
can-
the special
Okay.
conditions.
Certainly.
Any comments or questions from members of the audience? And Matt, did you have anything else?
No, I did stop out and reviewed the wetland delineation, which appeared accurate.
Okay. So, continuing to our next meeting on October 9th, and then drafting special conditions for that meeting? Does that work for your client?
Sure, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm not
So
understanding.
we're getting ready to finalize
So-
this, yeah.
For the order of conditions, Matt would write a draft. If we continue to our next meeting, October 9th, you would have a chance to review the conditions, and if we are all in agreement, we could approve them at that meeting,
Okay.
And then close the public
and
hearing.
then close the hearing, yes.
This is the most democratic system I have ever seen. They let me to review the order of conditions. That's nice. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So can I have a motion to continue the public hearing till October 9th?
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
So we'll see you on the
Thank you.
9th.
And thank you for letting me the new technology.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Good evening.
continuing to our 7:40 PM agenda item, it's the request for certificate of compliance for 30 Magnolia Drive, which you said was going to be
We're tabling that to a future meeting.
tabled indefinitely.
I think there's a definite, but I wouldn't want to put it on the record,
Okay.
because I don't remember.
Okay, so then we're moving on to our 7:45 PM agenda item, which is request for certificate of compliance for Curly 12 South Chelmsford Road.
This, the plans for this request for certificate of compliance and the associated documentation of deviations as to what was approved and not constructed, what was not approved, not constructed, and the existing deck and stairs. I did observe upon a site visit a pile of lawn clippings with which has subsequently been relocated, and would request the commission, or would recommend the commission issue a certificate of compliance for a DEP file number 334-1229. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to address them.
Any questions? Can I have a motion to issue the certificate of compliance for DEP file number 334-1229?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving on to our 7:45 PM, to our 7:50 PM agenda item, it's a public hearing for Massachusetts Department of Transportation, I-495 right-of-way.
Hey, good evening.
Good evening.
Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Westford's non-zoning wetlands bylaw, Chapter 171. The Westford Conservation Commission will hold a public hearing on Wednesday, September 25th, 2024 at 7:50 PM in Meeting Room 201 at Town Hall, 55 Main Street, to consider the request for determination of applicability application of Massachusetts Department of Transportation for the repaving of a portion of Interstate 495 highway travel lanes, including associated repair of curbing and drainage structures within 100 feet of bordering vegetated wetlands and bordering lands subject to flooding, and within 200 feet of Beaver Brook from the Boston Road overpass northerly to the Chelmsford town line.
Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Angela Schofield, and I'm from Mass DOT's District 3 Environmental Team. As you so lovely said, I'm here to present an RDA for what I believe is an exempt activity under the Wetland Protection Act. Fortunately, Mass DOT being a part of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, we are not subject to bylaws when we are filing the permits with our own funding, our own construction contracts. So this work is about a mile 85 of resurfacing along, along 495. It begins, I believe, right over the bridge over on Boston Road, not Boston Post Road. And it ends right before the Chelmsford line, which I believe is the old exit 33. And it's strictly just repaving, and they'll do some sightline clearing if they have to, which is all exempt activities, including clearing around guardrails as necessary. I've driven this for the past 30 years. There are a lot of wetland resources along 495, but per the regulations and the exemptions, all this work is 50 feet or farther from the edge of the wetlands. So it would meet the exemption under that, as well as there's no clearing necessary on these areas. It's all pretty grass vegetated. There's some old asphalt swales, I think I measured 25 feet from the edge of the roadway. There's a lot of man-made berms that were made back when they put 495 in. And so do this work not crossing out of the state right-of-way. I believe it's exempt, and I'm requesting that the commission would issue a negative determination number 5, which would state that even though there are areas subject to the jurisdiction of the Wetland Protection Act, the proposed work meets the requirements issued by the Wetland Protection Act, Chapter CMR 10.02, section 22B and 22P.
Is that in your letter?
Sounds like
It
myself.
was. I was a conservation agent for 5 years prior, so you start to memorize it.
Okay. Any questions?
So, they're gonna scarify and then resurface
If they're just gonna mill and then pave it.
and mill and pave,
They're
okay.
gonna stay right in the right of way.
They're gonna take the milling away then, or they're not gonna
Absolutely,
try to reutilize it?
No, we're not gonna reutilize
I've seen
it.
some where they try to reuse the milling and resurface at the same time.
Some is just,
Not with me on the
And all
job.
in one, yeah, but
some of the on-ramps and off-ramps are just crack sealing too, right?
Yeah, it's very basic.
Not even milling or, okay.
amount of time involved in getting the project done?
So I always overestimate time for construction. They always surprise me. I think our goal is for the spring. We have an advertising system, and necessarily, unfortunately, maintenance. If an emergency comes up, like in Leominster, we had the flooding. All of our projects get moved around, so I try not to say we're going to get done by spring 2025, but our goal is to get it done sooner rather than later. Within the 3 years, absolutely, because obviously these are not extendable.
And how long will it take to?
For a mile, I would say with good weather, a day or two. They're pretty quick when they do these, and they usually do them overnight. I can't speak, obviously, to...
Sure.
Matt, do you have any?
Fine, I have no comments.
Any comments or questions from members of the audience? Okay, now you said it was a negative determination for, what was it, there was a 5 in there.
Yes, number 5, and I have the exact wording here. The area described in the request is subject to jurisdiction under the Act, since the work described therein meets the requirements for the exemption as specified in the Act and regulations. No notice of intent is required. And the 2 exact wordings for the 2 different exemptions are 310 CMR 10.022 BP, pavement repair, resurfacing, and reclamation of existing roadways within the right-of-way configuration, provided that the roadway and shoulder are not widened, no staging or stockpiling of materials. All disturbed road shoulders are stabilized within 72 hours of completion of the resurfacing or reclamation, and no work on the on the drainage system is performed other than adjustments and or repairs to respective structures within the roadway, as well as 310 CMR 10.022 B2N, vegetation cutting for road safety maintenance limited to the following: I, removal of deceased or damaged trees or branches that pose an immediate and substantial threat to driver safety from falling into the roadway, and 2, removal of shrubbery or branches to maintain clear guardrails. Such removal shall extend no further than 6 feet from the rear of the guardrail. This project, from my driving down the barely 2 miles, there was no guardrail that would need work, no vegetation. It's all well mowed side 495.
Okay, can I have a motion for to issue a negative determination number 5?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Can I have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on to our 7:55 PM agenda item, ratify enforcement order for 5 Appian Way.
So after the commission's last meeting, the project representative revised the as-built/restoration plan for 5 Appian Way. A copy has been provided based upon the discussion. A enforcement order was issued at some point on the day. September 20th, moving the restoration along. And if the commission has any questions or could ratify the enforcement order.
So you want a motion to the effect?
Yes, please.
Motion to the effect.
Second. All those in favor? Aye.
This afternoon, received a site inspection report and photographs from the property owner's representative, documenting the post and rail fence installed, the satellite dish was removed, a shed with which was on the as-built plan has been additionally removed, plantings per the plan, of the one minor change, I think something there was an ash, I think proposed was an ash and instead was planted was a flowering dogwood, I think based upon availability. And the restoration area now continues straight to the property line as opposed to jogging around the proposed shed. Matt, did I miss anything? You didn't. As such, I think the enforcement order has been complied with. If the commission has any questions, I'd also be continue on to the request for certificates of compliance for the 5 previously issued order of conditions with 334-0344 being no longer valid as the addition to the cottage has since been removed by subsequent construction, and as the enforcement order has been complied with, both 334-1125 and 334-1535 recommend be issued as the mitigation plantings have been. Oh, and with respect to the enforcement order, 2 years maintenance of the plantings, a contract was provided but was password protected and unable to be included in the commission's meeting packet. So I have proof.
So who's going to be responsible for the 2 years monitoring?
The landscaping company with which did the plantings.
Okay, and so will we be getting reports confirming the status of those, the health of those plantings?
I can ask. Again, the maintenance agreements.
Well, I'm just thinking if we're issuing the certificates of compliance, we really want to, we need.
I can follow up and ask them to, and put a calendar.
Why are you saying we're putting the cart before the horse by issuing the certificate of compliance without getting the plan?
No, we have the plan, but now it's into monitoring and reporting, and it's like, a lot of times we'll get a request for a certificate of compliance. Built into the orders is, the plantings shall be monitored, and normally, it
falls by the wayside, and we.
Yeah, and I'm not expecting things to go wrong, but it's nice to get a report that lets us know if something needs to be, if
things took or didn't take that we need to replant or do what we need to.
I can put a follow-up reminder. Again, the landscaper is the kind of landscaper of choice for the entire subdivision, so he's involved out there, and I can certainly, I think that's a fairly minimal request to make sure that the enforcement order is complied with as to comply with the
reasonable
orders.
Okay. Can I have a motion to issue certificates of compliance for DEP file number 334-0344, 334-1125, and 334-1535?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Backlog started.
Yeah, I know. So moving on to our other 7:55 PM agenda item, it's a request for certificate of compliance for Ryan Development LLC, 5 AKA 3 and 7 Liberty Way.
This was a placeholder. No work was performed since the commission's last meeting.
Which means we issue or we...
We don't.
We don't. Okay, so... Okay.
We're tabling or?
Yes.
Okay.
We will postpone to a future meeting. Okay, so that's postponed.
Right.
So now we move on to page 2. Our 8 PM agenda item is order of conditions minor modification request for KMR Realty LLC, 2 Colonel Rolls Drive. Good evening.
Good evening. Mark Slager from Allen Engineering, here on behalf of KMR Realty. Last year, the commission issued an order for the construction of a house, septic system, and grading. At the time, we showed a 3-to-1 slope coming up from the limit of work that's there now, up to the house. We've decided to do a little bit regrading, and interestingly enough, the original thought was maybe a boulder slope, which came about the same time a boulder slope was being proposed at another subdivision, based on feedback from the commission. At that hearing, we decided to go with a 4-foot tall wall instead, and then a grass slope above it, a lawn slope. So basically, we're proposing a 4-foot tall block wall, and blocks are 2 feet wide, 2 feet tall, and 4 feet long. So there'll be basically 2 blocks stacked on top of each other, and then grading. One of the other things I've done is move the septic system from swap the primary and reserve septic system. So the septic system is now further to the south, where before it was up where I show the root drain infiltration system now. So that's it, just minor modification. I did get some comments from Matt earlier today recommending that the conservation post be placed above the wall. Kind of agree there because people will be able to see them. And then there was you requested a detail of the wall, but
Yeah, just in terms of what the footing, you know, how it's to be, in your, as you discussed, again, I mean, there very well may be a detail in the original order for the...
we didn't have a wall on the original order.
No, for the roadway. You know, like a general, you know, here's
There is
how...
a general
you know,
detail. It's 2 blocks on top of each other on a
I've
6.
seen that detail before on a plan.
Yeah.
You're saying we want to see it on a plan.
Just like
Yeah,
acknowledge it,
and that's
so
fine,
it's,
yeah.
you know, this is how, you know,
Yep.
in the event the next home, you know, the homeowner comes in 10 years and says, what'd they do? And we can say, this is what, you know.
This is what they were supposed to do, yeah. It's shown here on a plan.
Yeah.
Okay.
But outside of those 2 comments, those are my only 2.
I'm not saying,
I'm kind of, I was a little curious as to what was behind it to jog over and then work its way back, with the clearing and then where the wall was located.
The wall is just kind of angled down there, so I could make the 3-to-1 slope work
Okay.
off the corner of the septic system. So the wall actually tapers down from 4 feet
so
down
does the
to...
grading that right there against the wall.
Yeah,
Okay, so it was to make the grading work.
yeah.
Okay, I just couldn't figure it out on my own.
And it's all within the previously approved limit of work.
Pretty much. I think there's a little bit more grading down in this area.
Okay.
Everything else along here is consistent with the approved plan. There's just a little more work in the buffer zone right in this area.
So the proposed conservation posts, they stop at the end of the wall, they don't?
There's one here, too.
There's one there, okay.
One here, one
What's
there.
the distance between those
They
two?
vary, but it looks like 30 feet or roughly.
No, but I'm looking at this long stretch,
Right here?
yeah.
Let's see, that's probably around, 40 feet maybe?
Okay,
It's 25 here, so.
okay,
That's
yeah.
probably 45, 50 feet.
Yeah, it just,
Which is fine.
which is fine, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean-
that's fine.
I mean, if it was 70, I might say something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's pretty far away from the house, and it's, you know, I don't imagine this is gonna be maintained as lawn either on a 3-to-1 slope.
Yeah, it's going to be tough.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, okay. So, any comments or questions?
Fine.
Matt?
Recommend issuing or approving the minor mod upon receipt of amended plans.
Can I have a motion to
Revised.
approve the minor modification request contingent upon receiving an updated plan set?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you. I do have a request from the builder here. He, on the order of conditions for the overall development, he's supposed to build a bridge over a stream. He's wondering if he can make a contribution towards that rather than building it himself, how just pay for the materials.
I'm familiar with it.
Let me look at a couple previous scout projects to get an idea for what their number may be.
Okay.
So just to actually be somewhat reasonable and not,
Yeah,
$10,000,
Well, I mean, if
We can
there's
build
another,
my last landscaping estimate.
You can do a lot. We can build a bridge for $10,000, but we may be able to kind of.
if there's another Eagle Scout there looking for a project, we
Yeah.
can get one that's
Yeah, we
paying
can
for the material.
try-
for
Always
the
a
bridge.
scout looking for a
Yeah,
project.
we can try and kind of hone in I'll get you a number.
Okay, great.
A little bit better.
All right, perfect.
And now we're moving on to enforcement order complaints for 254 Concord Road.
Okay, for the record, Mark Slager from Allen Engineering here on behalf of Archstone Builders. This is a enforcement order that was issued earlier this summer due to mowing that was occurring within the 30-foot no disturb, and actually I think they mowed partially within the wetland. The commission issued an enforcement order requiring a post and rail fence. I've located the post and rail fence, and it's pretty much on top of where it was supposed to be. You'll see the actual plan is, I think one of them is in red, maybe, or just halftone.
Yes.
Yeah, it's halftone with squares. The red one is with the dots rather, is the as-built. So it's pretty much exactly where the commission wanted it. So with that, I was out there last week when I located the fence, and there was no mowing beyond the limit of the fence, and the area, the site had been recently mowed, so I think they got the message.
The posts that were originally there were labeled as conservation posts?
There actually weren't any posts there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That was-
The NOI required posts with signs.
Okay.
I don't believe they were ever installed, which is why the area was getting mowed.
So are there signs on some of the
No
fences?
signs on the fence itself. I don't think that was,
I don't think it was.
I didn't see it in the enforcement order.
Yeah, it may not have been. We may just wanted an actual fence, to.
Okay, so.
Yeah, the fence itself is pretty self-explanatory,
So when this, well, yes.
for us at least.
But I'm thinking in the future, so when lot 2A is developed, presumably the fence is going to stay and they're not going to take it out and put posts in?
Yes, yeah, I think this is the.
And then we
final.
will expect them to put signs on the posts. The conservation area, do not mow. Well, the language so that somebody knows that the fence, what the fence signifies.
Well, there's already an order of conditions on Lot 2A.
Right, but I am thinking, we put this fence up to keep mowers out, and it's one of those things that in perpetuity, we want people to know why the fence is there, in that, they should not be disturbing beyond that, and.
Yeah, I think, okay, I think that's fair when we go forward and the lot gets developed prior to certificate of compliance or whatever, or certificate of occupancy, we can have some signs put on the fence.
And the reason I'm thinking about this is because 3A did not have a filing for us because there was no work in the buffer zone, but we ended up having mowing in the buffer zone. So part of me is thinking that I would want posts, I would want signs on those posts as well, just so that we don't have confusion for people in the future.
Sure.
Okay. So you've told us that the enforcement order, you're in compliance. Is there a next step we need to take with that?
Just to state it, and then I'll send an email, and then that's.
Okay.
The enforcement order. The end of the.
Okay, that's the end. Okay, so thank you. Then we're moving on to our request to. Good night. Our request to reissue a certificate of compliance for Vineyard Road, DEP file number 334-0753.
I was contacted by an attorney representing the sellers of a property on Vineyard Road. An order of conditions was issued in 1996 for the construction of the road and any work on house lots within the 100-foot buffer. The commission issued a certificate of compliance and was recorded in 2015. It was actually subsequently recorded again in 2020. The DEP file number on the recorded certificate of compliance is correct, 0753. But the book and page reference was not of something I could find, nor was it just a typo. I don't know what happened. And I would request the commission reissue the certificate of compliance and cite the correct book and page number of the order of condition.
Keep it clean.
So
Yeah, to clean it up, again, I think the buyer's attorneys have some questions.
Okay, so can I have a motion to issue a certificate of compliance for to reissue a certificate of compliance for DEP file number 334-0753 for order of conditions, book and page number, book 08217, page 089.
So moved.
Second?
Second, oh.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. And last but not least, the public hearing for Zom Living LLC, 37 Powers Road.
The applicant has requested the public hearing be continued without discussion to October 9th, 2024.
Can I have a motion to continue the public hearing to October 9th?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. That's that.
I can kind of start on some of the discussion and action items. First, as brought to the Commission's attention at the last meeting, at the Grassy Pond Conservation Area, there was a collapsed picnic table. We were looking to acquire surplus from the library as they will be starting their expansion project shortly and need to get rid of surplus materials. They have 4 outside. One is a rectangular, probably 6-person table. The other was a plastic hexagonal, octagonal, similar to the one outside of the back of Town Hall. I was going to, with the Commission's assent, request those be relocated to Grassy Pond once the library department, or once the library is no longer using them. And also, because there are 4 currently there, I was thinking potentially one could be relocated to Freedom Park, kind of located in the area north of the existing little walkway to the gazebo, because I think it would fit in with the, or actually put it underneath the shade so that it wouldn't have to be mowed around. That was the.
Yeah, put it, there's what looks like the foundation of an old boathouse, and it's a raised area. It's got almost no, well, no, it does have some vegetation on it, but yeah, it's not going to be in the way of the lawnmowers.
Sure. So that's
The old collapsed picnic bench has been removed. I was by there yesterday.
Yeah, I hadn't actually walked out. And there was a downed tree next to the bench that was installed a couple years ago. The Department of Public Works has removed it, and I was always very appreciative of their work in addressing those.
The bench up by the kiosk is okay, and the collapsed one is, all the debris is gone.
Yeah.
Don't know where it went to, but it's gone.
Yeah, I asked him to remove it because it's.
Yeah. You know, there was the bench near where people would access the pond, and we had a nice new bench put there, and there was a big oak tree that fell over like 2 or 3 feet away from it. So, okay, so that's, you need a motion to approve it?
No,
Okay.
just with.
So, we're in concurrence?
Yes.
Okay.
The Lawn-Sotford Pond fireworks, received an email from the property manager at Summer Village. They provided what they received in terms of what was fired off
Wow.
in the previous month. I can certainly, if the commission would like to, I can certainly explore having either a water sample collected or a sediment sample collected.
Just to see if-
and, or in that northern end of, kind of by the outlet to see
Well,
what's.
Yeah, I would say the metals for sure, because they're probably not going to go anywhere if there was perchlorate or anything from, the pyrotechnics. Those would probably be gone by now.
Washed away.
They wouldn't show up. You need to do that,
Right after.
Yeah, pretty much right after. But, 1,314 shells shot off.
huge.
This is a private, supposedly a private, display. 500 pounds of material.
Do we know who did that?
For what?
It was a vendor for
Professional
Summer Village, hired by Summer Village.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it.
Yep.
So yeah, I would think if this is to go on in the future, there needs to be some sort of retesting requirement, and maybe we coordinate that with this. Typically you can find out when this is happening because it's on their monthly list of activities of, I think, when the fireworks are supposed to go off.
Well, you said they also have to notify the fire department?
Yeah, and so I can certainly request the fire department notify of, just to be aware of any other ones, again.
And
This and
I see
other
what this is saying, but they're not shot so high that it's, in fact, they have to keep it on an angle to try to make it so if anything falls out, it falls out over Long-Sotford Pond. That's the whole premise, because they don't want anything going beyond the pond and starting a fire in, the adjacent woodlands.
If we're going to do testing, we probably ought to do a baseline test, a week before the, whatever, if let's say it's 4th of July.
Right, I was going to collect, my thought was
Yeah,
to
but it's
try and-
not on the 4th of July. They do it as part of a closing. I think
yeah,
it's
like-
like late August or
Oh,
something.
okay,
mid-August.
whenever they do it, we should
Yeah.
test before and then
We can
after.
I can certainly look into arranging that and getting.
If that's what we're going to do, if we're going to do testing.
Yeah.
Well, let's,
That's a
yeah, so
good
we want to
idea.
get
It only
a, we want to get a
makes sense to do
proposal.
it before
If
and
you
after.
test, you have something to talk
So
about, otherwise you
do we
don't.
want to do
You're assuming it.
a proposal for before and after testing as opposed to a baseline analysis now?
Yeah, I can certainly, again, we have contractors who do monitoring of the water bodies associated with the Healthy Lakes and Ponds Collaborative. So I can certainly kind of put out feelers to get again, it may not be, it could certainly be a baseline when they're doing their other surveying work, when they're out there. It may be in June, but they're not going to be, shooting off, it'll certainly be an effective before.
Yeah, it should, 500 pounds of material,
can't believe I wouldn't-
explosives and heavy metals, I think it warrants being looked into and made sure that there aren't impacts to, Long-Sotford Pond.
Okay.
And, not only the wildlife, but the folks who live there, who, their drinking water wells are basic, some of them are shallow.
Okay.
20 Keys Road. I drove by this afternoon. Most of the kind of building materials with which were stockpiled up at the edge of the vegetation within the BVW buffer have been removed. Haven't heard back from them regarding my voicemail, but certainly we're steps in the
They
right
heard the message.
steps in the right direction.
Okay.
Stony Brook Conservation Area user concern follow-up. Did receive resident notified that the boathouse between Neshoba and Cielo
was open and that the boats being stored in there were being taken out.
Oh, wow.
Last Friday, the facility coordinator boarded it up quite securely. Again, I think it just had been broken into. So it's much, not that now there's much temptation to, go for joy rides out on the pond, but it's certainly very
It's a deterrent.
Yeah, it's the numerous boards across the doors currently are certainly a deterrent. Saw any. I don't know if I looked for any police reports.
I didn't see anything about boats or anything.
Yeah, well, but just any other.
I've been looking. I haven't seen any.
And so.
Postseason now.
And we're also, you said you were going to reach out to somebody about having the chimney on Neshoba Lodge assessed for the work it needs?
I'm stopping at a meeting tomorrow with a technician from a local contractor to assess the condition of the chimney, get kind of a price quote and, scope for what it would entail. So we're moving forward with the Friends of EBC's kind of donation in terms of kind of putting that to good use and getting to, getting action on that.
Do we have any kind of a tally as to how many complaints we got on the roadway this season?
I do not.
Just if in terms of if it was different than last summer because it wasn't quite so rainy.
I'll take a look and see what I've received over the past couple of years. I did notice that there is pavement underneath the road millings. Discussion for another time, and maybe
Pavement under where?
underneath the road millings of the from Depot Street, most of the way up. There's a 2 to 3 inch kind of compacted surface of road millings, and underneath that is old asphalt. That I have some photos that I took. I noticed it one day as I was driving out, and I just thought it looked. The pothole looked weird, and then once you start looking at it, you can start to notice where it's gotten rubbed, where it's gotten worn off, where the road millings have gotten worn off, and just again documenting the conditions and certainly kind of figuring things out going into next year. And also on my radar and to schedule is both a year-end call with the Teamworks camp director and their people, and also the rec department, kind of get an idea as to what the volume of traffic is, how many camp attendees they have, and what their is there any carpooling, and kind of start to understand what the volume of traffic is going on.
Speaking of the rec department, did anyone get in touch with you about the cabins?
Yes, I think I was off, but I can follow up with you. I'll follow up.
What's the question?
So my wife and a bunch of girls were camping last weekend.
With Flowers to Empower.
Tent camping.
But they were using the buildings, kitchen and all that. And there were several complaints, like plumbing was backed up and things like that.
Yeah.
And that's under our care and custody, right? So.
Yeah, and I'm following up with again, I was out of town this weekend, so trying to catch back up with.
I think Michelle Coletti.
Yeah.
They reached out to her.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
There's a list of things that they noticed.
Yeah, and so in terms of things to follow up with the facility coordinator about making sure again, we have another rental this weekend, and I know the rec department has kind of put out has included with the email with people's contact, the renter's contact information, the duration of what they're using, where they're they've the rec department has reminded them to make sure that these things are to be addressed and ready to go for
We're paying for that, right?
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, before the next bunch of renters come in, they should go and clean it up and
Yeah, right.
make sure the plumbing's working, toilets are working and all that. Yeah.
Edward Woods Conservation, I don't have anything to update at this time.
And that was where there was going to be a follow-up with police on the motor?
Yeah,
the dirt
motorbike,
bikes?
yeah.
Okay.
Somebody was taking a motorbike through the conservation. With respect to Freedom Park, both the outside of the picnic table, try to reuse from the library. I met with a parks, I think his title's foreman, with kind of the end of season care, the fall cleanup and, kind of the mowing of the naturalized buffer at the waterfront, because again, we're managing it with, different stakeholders' interests in mind. And with respect to our view of, again, what's the conservation value of this buffer, and it's very thoroughly established with native species, and after, Margaret's in her own time taken some, removed the invasive species, kind of requesting mowing mowing it like a meadow, when you would a meadow, later in the fall, after the flowers have, and everything's gone to seed, to, help redistribute and engage with that. So that's on my list to follow up with, and again with the surveyor to mark the property bounds.
And, yeah, you had emailed me.
About the pathway, yeah.
Yeah,
So-
and I was going to email you back that if you could send Matt the name of the person who did the walk for you.
Yeah.
Because Matt's looking into where, vendors that the town may have used in the past to install walkways, and then just, how do we build a scout project with their professional assistance?
Right, yeah, they told me that they built one recently and they didn't do a good job. They said, you want something that's gonna last 20 years, might as well do it right.
Exactly, yep.
Yeah.
No, that's good.
They also suggested, since it's a veterans park, reaching out to whoever, Jim Arcero, whoever, for funding to provide, to pay for the professional.
Well, and I think, Marisha is very supportive of the park. I think, if we approached her about contributing to the help cover the cost, she would be willing to as well.
Sure, and there's the existing one, as well as the new one.
Yeah, the
So they
extension
could be
to-
treated as separate projects or one?
I mean, I would imagine there'd be an efficiency of scale to do it all at the same time.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
But then you're talking about next spring.
Yeah, maybe.
All right. Yeah, this guy lives in Granville. He's a local, so.
Yeah, if you can get his contact, I'll reach
give you
out
his
to him
number,
and
yeah.
kind of get, also, get an idea as to scope and cost. That's always,
Exactly, yeah. I'll send you the information.
I do not have an update on the Summer Village CR amendment. I do not have an update with respect to the conservation of the Jarvisville Estates. I circulated the Mass Association of Conservation Commissioners fall conference schedule. Sierra in our office, the assistant planner, found a couple workshops that she was interested in attending. I was hoping to fund a portion of it with the modest amount in the conservation operating budget, but was also requesting authorization from the commission to pay for the balance with reserved receipts. And also use this as my annual pitch to any conservation commissioners. If you'd like to attend, again, we do have, we can certainly pay for you to go.
the word, motion to
With the
authorize?
authorization of the
Yeah,
funds.
I second that, yeah.
Okay.
How
All
much are
those
we
in-
talking about, by the way? How much are we talking about?
I think it's $165 for the conference registration. Yeah, for a non-member. You as our annual dues cover the commissioner's membership, but it's additional fees for staff, and I just
She
signed up.
does enough for us.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
it's
right,
fine.
yeah, I know.
Yeah, this is-
And so,
Yeah. This is a
a
no-brainer.
motion, if I could have a motion second, and I.
Motion, yeah.
Motion second, okay. Thank you.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay. Have people had a chance to review the minutes?
Yep.
Any feedback?
Good.
I
Did you find something? I didn't find
didn't
anything.
find anything.
Okay.
Maybe I was tired.
Can I have a motion to approve the minutes for September 11th, 2024 as written?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Staying.
And no site visits to record and schedule. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.